Yeah, the budget was all of $20,000, which in car store stuff, that's not a whole lot of money, but it's kind of amazing that 3,000 work hours later, 30 people that were unemployed during the pandemic, and 100 days from idea to when it hit the screen, we had a musical. Car dealership or not, what business in their right mind one morning wakes up and says, I think I'm going to do a musical, and 100 days later has one? You have to get everyone to say yes. You have to get everyone to buy on.
Now, look, I've already told you this. I'm not a musical guy. If they can say it, why do they got to sing it?
Jeff Stearns, connected through cars. If they're bigwigs, we'll have them on the show. And yes, we'll talk about cars and everything else. Here he is now, Jeff Stearns.
My day job, my career is selling chat and software services and consulting to dealerships around the country. Randall and I met through one of these deals. He uses our services, a couple of his stores. While we're talking and how we end up in a podcast, because I certainly don't have all, or I don't even know about any of my other dealer clients on. If there's another, I forgot on the podcast. Randall's like, do you have anyone else in the dealership space making a musical? And I'm like, no, tell me more. So we had to do more about it. But really, what I want to emphasize is Randall is in my opinion, and this is my opinion, so you don't get to correct it, but you can certainly add on to it. This isn't about the car business. I met him through the car business, but he's a marketing expert using things way outside of the norm, coloring way outside of the box to market the store, and somehow went to the ownership and leadership of the store and got them to approve, I think, a real shoestring budget, right?
Yeah, the budget was all of $20,000, which in car store stuff, that's not a whole lot of money, but it's kind of amazing that 3,000 work hours later, 30 people that were unemployed during the pandemic, and 100 days from idea to when it hit the screen, we had a musical.
That's absolutely hard. I mean, that was like the impossible. You pulled the impossible out of your hat, and you didn't just get it finished. We've got these 15 awards that you mentioned, and we'll have them on the screen here. Now, I was privy to seeing the show prior to it being released. Now, by the time we release this podcast, can I put the link in the show notes? Can the public see it?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is available online for everyone to see and share, because it really is the story of how and why it got made is actually more important than that it got made, if that makes sense. Because car dealership or not, what business in their right mind one morning wakes up and says, I think I'm going to do a musical, and 100 days later has one? You have to get everyone to say yes. You have to get everyone to buy on. And when I say everyone, all of the music, the entire script, that was all original. Nothing was off the shelf. This was 100% original. Our orchestrator, James Olmstead, lives in New York. He's a director on Broadway. Everyone who was doing the backup singing sings on Broadway. All the instrument players work on Broadway. Our book writer, Omri Shine, has written for Broadway. So this was a very high level of work, and our director, Stephen Brodebeck, has worked on Broadway, and now he's a professor at SDSU. And how we got all these people to say yes to this wackadoo idea was kind of amazing, and yet the stories that happened after we made it are even bigger than the thing itself.
So I want to talk about that just a little bit. So first of all, I mean, did you write this or the outline? Like, who designed, and forgive me, I'm not in your business or in show business at all, but who designed the play, or what would be the right word, or the musical?
Well, what was very interesting is my husband and I were sitting on the couch one night, and he worked for the Old Globe Theater, which is the 6th largest regional theater in the country. Everyone's out of work. No one knows when they're going back to work. Everything's a disaster. Basically, it's the Titanic writ large. And he was like, you're creative. Why don't you do a musical? So I slept on it overnight, and the next morning I was like, okay, why not? Then about 4 days into it, I realized what amount of hubris that was to go, sure, let's just knock one out and see what it is. But I called a friend of mine, Matt Morrow, who's our creative director at the Diversionary Theater here in San Diego. He connected me with Stephen, who connected me with his people. I connected all of us with my people. And without exception, every single person said yes. I'm still stunned by that.
So you got no resistance. You didn't have to talk anybody into it. You didn't have to go around anyone or get another person. That one wouldn't play. Everybody just was, yeah, I'm in, Randall.
They really did. And I think it was also partially timing, especially in the creative community. It was the first time they had to get their acting, singing, creative writing chops back in gear because nothing had been done. San Diego literally was shut down for 18 months. So I think that was a piece of it. Plus, because the way the whole thing is about joy and happiness and actually sharing the love and what that means, I think a lot of people just identified with it. And, you know, there's a song in Sharing the Love called Pull Through. It's the second song. And pretty much when we show it to audiences, you can hear a pin drop because everyone has touched one of those moments in that song where they felt bad or they felt something during the pandemic. So we also wanted to get some people emotionally involved in it. And I think it was just the right project at the right time and certainly the right group of people.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, what about now look, I've already told you this. I'm not a musical guy. My saying always is when I'm watching a movie or a play, if they can say it, why do they got to sing it? But honestly, I told you privately, I enjoyed yours. I really did. Now, it may have had something to do with, I know the person behind it, and I know the circumstance behind it, but, and I'm certainly no expert, but for me, even Mr. Not Musical, it was very enjoyable, very digestible. It wasn't like work, there's another song. It was really nice. Now, did you write the songs or was part of the crew a songwriter? How does it work?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And realizing that we had a minuscule budget, and by the way, all 30 people got paid. No one worked on this for free. Every single person made some money for their talent and their time, and that is a belief that I've had forever. To answer your question, nothing was written. So the big finale song, which is Sharing the Love, we gave the writer one sentence. It needs to be like this and kind of like this, and you have to say a couple of these kind of things. And 3 weeks later, he and his partner, who's the musician of the group, came up with the 3 songs and all the information that was in the songs. Yeah, songs are sort of like art. I know what it looks like when it looks good, and I can't draw stick figures. I leave that to the professionals.
Okay, so a lot of serendipity, no doubt about it. Budget, time range, and gosh, how, and I don't want to get all like syrupy on you and have you need insulin here, but what a lift for the people in that business, I'm assuming that, I mean, their wheelhouse and what moves them in life is performing. I mean, that's what does it for them. That's what touch moves and inspires them. And they're stuck at home.
Yeah, almost beyond belief. And what's interesting, and I really do have to give credit to Cox Cable and the Your View channel on Cox Cable out here, because they helped us in ways that I could never have imagined. And, you know, some could say, yep, big bad corporation, and I hate them and my cable bill's too high. My cable bill's too high. I get it. But in this case, they actually gave us airtime to show Sharing the Love at no cost. And at their cost, they produced a 15-minute behind-the-scenes segment that airs right after the show. So if people want to see what it meant to the actors and crew in the show and what it really took to make it, it's right there. So after the show, there's a 15-minute behind-the-scenes package that would not have happened if it weren't for Cox Cable, again, signing on and saying yes.
So, Randall, when in my show notes here, when we give the link to Sharing the Love, automatically when they watch that, attached to the back of that will be a behind-the-scenes if they want to keep watching?
Correct. And you can find Sharing the Love, you type it into YouTube, but there's also some additional information if people just go to SubaruofElCajon.com. They can actually see the link. It's right on the homepage. And unlike other car dealerships that have, cars on the homepage, we've got dancing people videos. So it's a little bit different there as well. But yeah, SubaruofElCajon.com is where they could go, and you can't miss it.
This has been Jeff Stearns, Connected Through Cars.